Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu Cha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vedya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Matrurupena Sanstita Namastasyai 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 Namo Namaha. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Shakti Rupena Sanstita Namastasyai 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 Namo Namaha. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Buddhi Rupena Sanstita Namastasyai 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 Namo Namaha. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Lakshmi Rupena Sanstita Namastasyai 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 Namo Namaha. And the Devi has entered among our midst. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Would you like a floor chair?
I think I'll fit. Should I bring you up here?
Puneet, may I ask a favor of you? Would you poke the white box and make it go away? Can you guys all hear me now
Yeah,
and see me?
yes.
All right. So Monali is here, everyone. So as we were chanting to the goddess, she came in. So we are so happy to have you.
So happy to be here.
Yes. Well, and now you see we have Zoom now.
I know, and that's amazing. Everything's on the YouTube channel as well.
Yes. So we are in chat. Do you want a copy of the text?
The Tripura Rahasya.
Yes. I think you've got one? Yes. Okay.
The first class I sat in over here. When it was on Saturday mornings.
All right. So I think we are, remind us again, Mark, chapter 17, verse
34.
34, page 292.
Yes.
And we are in the discussion on samadhi. And we've talked about what we call fleeting samadhis or momentary samadhis. So we've had these two technical terms, prakasha and vimarsha. Prakasha is luminosity, the light of awareness itself. Vimarsha is the deliberation that the mind undergoes when we are interacting with phenomena. So we're not really so much concerned about the perception of phenomena. It's the vimarsha that is problematic. So if we tune up the mind, just introvert the attention, stop. Then the pure luminosity of the self becomes available. And then as we're moving through the world, we find the mind stopping in all sorts of events. We had a list of different ways we do it. One of the ways, since we have an artist with us now, if you are at a music concert or a dance concert and the artist moves us profoundly, and after they're done, there's just this silence. Then the applause starts. You know that moment? That's samadhi. Anytime the mind is free from this vimarsha, this deliberation. All right, Ganesh, can you help us out, please?
Ajnanasya nivritya.
Start again, please.
Ajnanasya nivrityantam samsaro na nivartate purnatma vijnanamrite prajnanam na nivartate. The course of worldly life does not cease till the cessation of ignorance. But ignorance does not cease without the knowledge of the self, which is the whole.
So this is the problem, the course of worldly life. We don't find liberation until we're free from the karma chakra, the wheel of worldly existence, samsara, the afflictions of the mind, maya, avidya. It goes by so many names. The cause of it is ignorance. This is the cause. To frame it the way Shankara does, first comes what he calls avarana shakti, the veiling power, the non-apprehension of my self-nature. Then comes the vikshepa shakti. First, jiva bhavana. I think I'm a person. I think I'm my body. Then there's a goal. The goal is only one of two forms. I either need to fix the world, the people, places, things, and situations aren't right, or I need to fix me, I'm not good enough. And then the third element is struggle, kartavya. These obligatory actions. I have to go from point A to point B. So the root of it is ignorance. And if I have the apprehension of my self-nature, that whole thing falls. It falls easily. So this is the watchword. If I feel like a person, I'm deluded. Now, this exercise is only useful if you've had these moments of samadhi. these moments at least where, oh yeah, I have something real with which to work. I've seen that there's nothing there, just a space of awareness. Then I can drop the phony self, the shadow self. Give up the kartavya, the struggle. Now, if I have yet to be able to drop my mind, then back up. Then we have karma yoga, bhakti yoga, pranayama. All those are methodologies which have as their goal achieving a sattvic mind. So the practice that we're talking about now is only really available to someone who has a predominantly sattvic mind. No blame. Any questions on this? All right, next verse.
Tacha purnatma vijnanam vividham suvyavasthitam paroksham aparoksham cha paroksham kurushastratah tatsakshat purusharthasya nakaranam iti sthitam. That knowledge of the self, which is the whole, is determined in two forms, direct and indirect. The indirect knowledge is obtained through the Guru in the scriptures. It is established that it is not the direct means of the principal object of life, which is liberation.
So, paroksha and aparoksha, direct and indirect knowledge. Do not confuse the two. It is the difference between a pandit and a jnani. Indirect knowledge comes from hearing from the Guru, reading the scriptures, reading lots and lots of commentaries, watching YouTube videos. And what you may get from this is a thorough intellectual understanding of the path and the goal. Don't settle for just that. Direct knowledge comes when I have that experience of samadhi, that auspicious moment when the mind comes to an end. With that deep reversal of the attentive faculty, I notice, Koham, who am I? And I see by direct experience, Shivoham, Shivoham. Now, for those of you who may have the desire to teach, here's something very important to know. Many people get caught up in reading and discussion about the self as if it's something outside. Like we're going to be talking about politics, or we're going to be talking about music. But when we practice jnana abhyas, we start with our direct experience. I usually hold up an object. Lately, it's been the phone. Who sees the phone? I do. That's yourself. You don't get another self. My problem is not that I need a different self. My problem is I've superimposed upon that experience all sorts of false ideas. How do I get rid of those false ideas? Be ruthless. Let go of all our assumptions. Directly inquire with a quiet mind. Investigate. Who am I? Any thoughts on this? This is why frequently I'll have people and they'll come to satsang, get all tuned up. And then I'll say, well, are you meditating? Well, not really, Jim. I think about it. I meditate when I'm at the gym while I'm working out. We need to take the time to sit and have a mature, meditative practice. Oh, I meditate, Jim. I meditate 5 minutes a day. Minimum 20 minutes. It takes that long for the mind to settle. 40 minutes or an hour is good. Then some wonderful things will start to happen. Next verse.
Yadrisham te bhavajnanam shastrashruti samudbhavam Shraddha matrabhyupagatam phaladam na prachakshate. Knowledge of which kind, arising out of the hearing of the scriptures, may occur in you, that is obtained by mere faith. It is not considered as producing the result, which is liberation.
Yes. So the indirect knowledge, paroksha, jnana, that will not produce liberation. It will give you intellectual satisfaction. Will give you faith. But what bestows liberation is aparoksha jnana, direct experience. Next verse.
Aparoksham hi vijnanam samadhi paripakajam saprapanchajnanakshamamam shubha phalabham samadhi jnana purvastu vijnanam janayet khalu. Direct knowledge is born of perfection in or the maturing of samadhi. It is capable of destroying ignorance together with the visible universe, which is manifold and illusory, and produces the happy result of liberation. Samadhi, preceded by indirect knowledge, can surely produce direct knowledge or realization of the self.
So when we were talking about fleeting samadhis, we talked about how people have them all the time, but they do not liberate us because they have no framework for it and the attentive faculty is not introverted. So Gita frames this way. We want jnanam vijnanam cha. We want understanding, jnanam, and direct experience, vijnanam. Want them to come together at the same time. Now, this scripture doesn't talk about it too much, but I want to talk a bit about what we call a Jada Samadhi. Jada Samadhi is what we call an inert samadhi. Many people who take up like a pranayama practice, and they huff and puff and huff and puff and huff and puff, and they get high. They might even feel blissed out. Then they start to seek peak experiences. This is also the problem with psychedelics. You take the psychedelic, and you may have some fantastic experience where you feel one with everything or something like that. Blissful. But the problem with both of those is it does not deal with us. This is a slow, manual process, allowing these knots of the heart to come out of the unconscious. And we don't get triggered by them. We don't try to fix them or run away from them. We don't try to get high in some way to bury them. We're present to them, to see them for what they are, so we can dissolve. Very fond of Shloka 267 in Vivekachudamani, which addresses this. It says, even after realization of the self, meaning we've had these glimpses into the infinite, there exists a strong impression that one is the doer and the enjoyer. This is this jiva bhavana, the sense of agency. He says it's the cause of rebirth. Here we don't mean just coming back again in another incarnation. It means I re-identify. I think I'm a person. I think I'm my body. I think I'm Jin. What do I do about it? He says it needs to be conscientiously rooted out. How? Steady and continuous identification with the self. So this is what will happen. Life will bring you the environment that triggers the vasana. Oh, I forgot the last line. It is the annihilation of the vasanas here and now that's considered liberation by the wise. So think for a moment, what got you triggered this past week, if something did? I will bet this is not the first time you felt this. And I promise you, it will keep coming around until we let go and keep our hearts open. Walking away, running. Gotta stay present to it. And drop all the craziness. Drop the attachment and the identification. be empty. We have to go through all of the attachments of the body. Then, when the last attachment, the last vasana is burned out, the mind by itself enters into samadhi. Then the ignorance is gone. And from that point on, you're never a person again. And the experience is like this. I love what Ramana Maharshi says. Just as for the ordinary person now, there's no effort in knowing you have a human body. He says you don't wake up worried that you're a goat or a cow or a horse or a pig. You don't have to discriminate. I'm not a pig, I'm not a pig, I'm not a pig. I'm not a cow, I'm not a cow. You don't have to do that. For the sadak, I am not the body, I am not the prana, I'm not the mind, I'm not the thoughts. But for the sin, there's no effort to it. And that is the food of samadhi. Now, there are some schools of Advaitins who say samadhi is not necessary. I have no revelry in the self. You can feel it when you're around it. Swamiji taught the value of samadhi. Shankara certainly teaches it in Vivekachudamani. This text certainly advocates. So, using Shankara's paradigm, what we can practice is sadhikalpa samadhi, keeping the mind tuned up, keeping that intense introversion. Letting all the sensory data pass through. Keep renouncing attachment. Keep renouncing identification. When the last attachment is let go, you may not know it's your last attachment. Then the mind enters into samadhi. All right, next verse.
Tasmat ajnaninam narthah samadho sambhavatyapi yatha viditamanikya pashyan koshagrahe manim na janati yathányastu Shrutagnatam anikvachit Shrutagnatam anikvachit Drishtva pratyabhijanati tatparo manimanjasa. Therefore, though there is the occurrence of samadhi for those not possessing indirect knowledge through the scriptures and the Guru, there is no result in the form of liberation. This is like a person who has not known a ruby, seeing the gem in a treasury, does not recognize it, but another who has somewhere heard of and known the gem and is intent on it, recognize it instantly on seeing it. No, Even indirect knowledge of the gem results in the latter recognizing it, but the absence of such knowledge makes the farmer miss the gem.
So what he's saying here, going back to the discussion on these fleeting samadhis, these little moments. So for example, just right here, you listen to the traffic. See if you can notice with your mind really quiet, who hears the traffic? You get the sense that there's nothing there, no thing. Chidakash, the space of awareness. Nirupaham, without form. If you get those little flashes like that, those are samadhis. They don't have to be long. Ordinary people, though, their minds stop. But because they have no preparation, they have no indirect knowledge, and because their minds are then extroverted upon returning from samadhi, it does not serve to free them. And his metaphor here is, if you see a ruby and you are a gemologist, you see a rough stone, that is diamond, that is ruby. Ordinary person, oh, it's a funny little sparkly paperweight. Not knowing what it is. So Vedanta is also called a Shabda Pramana. Shabda means sound or words. So what we do in satsang, through going through the scriptures, by means of going through the scriptures, we try to put you in an experience of your own self. And we tell you what you're experiencing while you're experiencing it. Then the mind goes, aha. Any thoughts on this? So here the scripture says we have the paroksha jnana, the indirect knowledge first. Study of the scripture, hearing the words of the Guru. Maybe in class we get glimpses, but then our own practice, viveka, now, some people can get all caught up chasing nirvikalpa. I say, don't worry about it. Keep tuning up the mind. Continue your practice of vairagya. And be more attentive to what is my essential nature. I am Brahman. I am a ground being. Stay focused on that. And again, for some people, nirvikalpa is this earth-shaking kind of experience. but it isn't for everyone. Sometimes it's just a shift. Don't worry about it. Do you know who you are? If you still have doubts, keep doing tapas. That's simple. Any thoughts on this? Part of what happens is we read the scriptures and we have an imagination, an image of what we think Nirvikalpa is going to be. Because we haven't had an experience that meets our romantic idea, that's why I say, don't worry about it. Be focused on, do you know who you are? Do you have any doubts about who you are? If there are times when you forget who you are, then keep scrubbing, keep doing tapas. How do I know that my mind is still got vasanas and stuff? Shankara is very clear. If your mind still seriously extroverts into the world, you know what to do. Only you can discern whether or not it's a preference or an insistence. Are you taking it as sport and leela, or is this serious business? And you can feel it when someone still has a greedy mind, a lustful mind. Nice person, good yogi. You can also feel it when you meet someone and they're just empty. Doesn't mean they don't go to the theater or enjoy a good meal. All right, next verse.
Atat para shrutamapi bhuya pashyan marnim kvachit na vijanati tadiha brahman sunipano pisan. Brahmana, one who is not intent of the gem, having that as the highest object, though seeing the gem which has been heard of somewhere again, does not recognize it here, though being very clever.
Yes. So if you get caught up in all the ancillary parts of yoga, I'm reading Yoga Sutra by Pandit, commentary by Pandit Rajmani, and there's all these various, I would call them kriyas, you know, seeing the space of consciousness in the third eye, and then lotus of the heart, and bringing the energy up to the crown chakra and stuff like that. All these sorts of things, to one level, may be useful. But the focus is always, do you know who you are? What is the mark of a person of wisdom. First, they do not identify with the body, identify with the self. And then Gita says it so beautifully. When a man casts off all the desires of the mind, O Partha, and is satisfied in the self, by the self, then they're said to be a person of steady wisdom. Sleep the prajna purush. Next one.
Tatha mudana vindanti phalam vijnana samshrayam ajñātatpat panditastu shrutajnānayuta api atatparatpahettostu na vijananti sarvatha. So ignorant persons do not obtain the fruit pertaining to knowledge on account of not having known it indirectly. On the other hand, learned ones, though endowed with indirect knowledge, which has been heard on account of lack of exclusive devotion to it, do not realize at all.
So, ignorant people may have a samadhi, but it does nothing to free them because they don't know what they're looking for. Learned people may understand the path and the goal, but because their minds are too extroverted, they have no samadhi, they have no direct experience. So here, what the scripture is saying, first, Shravana, Mananam, Nididhyasana, Samadhi. First, we hear the truth from the Guru. We hear it with our eyes, reading the scriptures. Think about it. So you're convinced that the path and the goal are real. It makes sense. And long and continuous practice. Which culminates in samadhi. Going on.
Yatha hi tarakam pashyan api janati na kvachit mudha shrutajnanahena shrutajnana yutopi vai pashyan api cha no veti tatparatva vivarjanat. This is like an ignorant one without the knowledge of a particular star, heard by him earlier from others, though seeing that particular star does not recognize it anywhere. And even the person endowed with the knowledge, heard from others, though seeing that particular star, does not recognize it on account of abandoning exclusive devotion to it.
Yes. So outside, if someone says, I don't know, what is the star that's at the very end of the handle of the Big Dipper? I'm sure it has a name.
The pole star?
No, is that at the end of the Big Dipper, or is that the pole star is the same as the North Star?
Yeah.
Maybe it is the same.
Yeah, the
because
pole
Big
star is the
Dipper
North Star.
revolves around it. Yes. So
Yeah.
someone says pole star. You have no idea what the pole star is. You look out of the sky, you're looking for a pole. I see a Lithuanian. I see a Belarusian. I don't see any poles. You have no idea what it means. So you have no knowledge of it. You don't know how to find it. But if someone says, look for the Big Dipper, 4 stars that look like the ladle, then there's a handle. Now at the end of the handle is the pole star. See if you can find it. So you have a way to look for. Another metaphor the scriptures give. Do you see the tree over yonder? Yes. Do you see the uppermost branch of the tree? Yes. Do you see that the leaf on that uppermost branch that's half green and half brown? Oh, yes, I see it. Now, lift your gaze about 15 degrees and you will see the daytime crescent moon. Yes, it had been there all along, but I just didn't notice it. So what do? We give you Tripura discrimination between the seer and the seen. Do you see the lamp? Yes, I see the lamp. Are you a lamp? No, I'm not a lamp. You're the one who sees the lamp. Yes, I'm the one who sees the lamp. We go through all the sense objects and we practice this subject-object discrimination. Now we go to the physical body itself. You are not the body, you are the knower of the body. Take a deep breath, feel the breath in the body. In fact, you know the breath in the body the same way you know the lamp or the traffic or anything else. It is an object of awareness. Oh, Jim, I'm into energy. Yes, I've been cleaning my chakras. Feel energy. See the energy rise, you see it fall. But are you not aware of the energy? I'm not saying energy is bad. I'm not saying the body is bad. I'm just saying it's not you. I am not the prana. We go to the manomaya kosha. My feelings, joy, sorrow, enthusiasm, anger, etc. All these feelings. But I know the feelings. I am not my feelings. Now we go to the realm of thought. Thoughts go by like your hand in front of your face. They go by like the sound of the traffic. But now in the space between thoughts, in the silence, see if you can notice who sees the thought and the space between the thoughts. You see, there's nothing there. Yet that no thingness shines. Prakash is the light of pure awareness. It's shunyata, it's empty, but it's also purna, full of being. you've been able to follow along in the subtle intellect, you get the flashes. Yeah, yeah. See. It's not creating yourself. It's not the self that's having that insight. It's the mind. That's where the shift happens. Jnanam vijnanam gita. Here, paroksha, aparoksha. Indirect knowledge first, and look. What do you see? What's your direct experience? Next verse,
Jim, I have a question.
please.
So if I recollect a fleeting samadhi, would that classify as direct or indirect?
Say again. I didn't catch the first part.
If I recollect a fleeting samadhi, let's say I remember a time in the past where in hindsight, I could say that my mind completely dropped. Would that would still be indirect experience, right?
What's important? What's important? Did it reveal to you your essential nature?
Right.
For example, if you do not know for some strange reason whether or not your head is on top of your shoulders, and the Deho Guru says, all right, Uday, you must stand in front of the mirror. Now, your hands, you see you have hands. Hit your shoulders, you see you have shoulders. You see that thing on top of your shoulders now, touch it. That's your head. You look in the mirror and you go, oh yeah, I have a head. So just recollecting that nothing happened, if it does not reveal to you this vast empty nothingness of your self-nature, then there's still some ignorance. Does that make sense, Uday?
Oh yes, that's useful, Jim.
Again, I'm very cautious about when we teach these sections on samadhi, because people want to say, is this samadhi or is that samadhi, or have I had it yet? Have I not had it yet? Take it easy.
Okay.
What is far more useful, in my opinion, be focused on the question, do I know my essential nature? Do I still have doubts about my essential nature? If I have doubts about it, I need to do more tapas. It's that simple. What's the tapas I need to do? Viveka and Vairagya. But I wouldn't want you to settle for less by saying, oh, I had 10 minutes and everything was blank. I'm back and now I'm still Uday, but I think I must have had samadhi, so everybody touch my feet. That's not. You see what I mean?
Yes, Jim.
The important point is, do you know who you are? When we do these exercises, do you at least get a sense that the self in you is just consciousness, that it's not a person? Are you clear about the fact that you're not the body.
Yes.
If that is still problematic, then again, more tapas.
Mhm.
Bona fide samadhi is self-validating. You will absolutely know who you are with no doubt afterward. And Shiva himself would come along and say, oh, you don't know who you are. You ever had the ultimate? And he would say, I'm sorry, Lord, get lost. You have imagination. I know it's real. All right, next verse.
Yastu shrutva shukrataram digakara dilakshanaihi maya nyayam sarvatheti tatparo buddhiman naraha ekagra manasa pashyan pratibhijñāsti pratibhijñāsyati sphutam. The intelligent man who, having heard about the planet Venus with its characteristics such as direction, form, and the like, is exclusively devoted to it, thinking it should be known by me by all means, recognizes it clearly on seeing it with a one-pointed mind.
So if you've read books, you've gone to an astronomer, and you know the planet Venus is going to be on the horizon at dusk, you'll look and you'll see, aha, there it is. So also, if you've studied scripture, if you've been in satsang with the Guru, you've been devoted to this, then when you have these even fleeting samadhis, these little moments, then you'll recognize it and you'll go, yes, I get it. There's nothing there. Next verse.
Evamajñāto mūಢāśca अन्ये तात्पर्यवर्जनात् न vijananti swatmanam brahman satsu samadhishu bhiksham atati durdaivat yatha vai vispritakarah. Brahmana, thus ignorant ones due to lack of indirect knowledge, and others on account of giving up exclusive devotion, do not recognize their own self when samadhis occur in their life, as one who has forgotten his mine of wealth roams about begging for alms.
The one who has forgotten what?
His mine of wealth, like a gold mine.
Oh, yes, yes. Now, I tell you that the self is difficult to realize, not because it's far away or in some exalted state. The self is difficult to realize because of its profound ordinariness. This is a bit disappointing for some people. But think if it were something to be gained through some strenuous exercise, how could it be me? You are always you. What we accomplish through samadhi is we remove from our attention everything that's not you. Now, I have a secret for you. Some scriptures use the term tanu manasaha. Tanu manasaha means thinness of mind. Actually, you don't need to go into an extended period of absolute nirvikalpa samadhi. And the great example we have is Aruna. Aruna means the pre-dawn gloaming, the light that we have before the sun actually lifts above the horizon at sunrise. So in the pre-dawn gloaming, objects become visible. And when the sun arises, yes. So, just some thinness of mind. It's frequently all that's necessary. The other example I like to use, I can't use it anymore, but in the old-timey days in my dining room, I used to have lace curtains. Were you around when I had the lace curtains in the dining room, either of you? Yeah. Now I've got the shears. But you can look out through lace curtains and see what's going on the patio or on the street. You don't have to pull the curtains back. It's not as clear an image as it would be if you pulled the curtains back. But you can see what's there. So Shankara will use the phrase, you have this thinness of mind, and you begin to see the no things of yourself. You are not the jiva. You are Paramatma. And then the bright blaze of the sun of knowledge just burns everything. So focus your attention on Koha. Who am I? Make that the focus. Not so much achieving nirvikalpa. Nirvikalpa will come. Samadhi will come. Otherwise, having a spiritual experience becomes another desire. I.e., Jim, want to have this spiritual experience. I.e., Jim, I'm gonna have. And then in itself, it starts to become another problem. But if, on the other hand, the object of your desire, the object of your inquiry is yourself, then you're chasing something real, not a mind state. Go back to what he said earlier in this chapter. Prakash, Imarsha. Don't worry too much about the perception or non-perception of phenomena. It's the deliberation that's problematic. Just tune up the mind. Just focus on something. I love to just, there's an old Zen koan, a bell ringing in an empty sky. I love it. Just ding. Who hears it? Over and over and over again until the mind's convinced. Next verse.
Tasmad etadasha sarvaha samadhinam nirathikaha ata eva shishunam hi sarvada nirvikalpakam na phalam sadhayet brahman ajnanasya nivrittitihi nivrittitah brahmana. Therefore, all these states of samadhis, which are momentary and experienced by all, are useless. For this very reason, the nirvikalpa, state free from thought constructs, existing at all times for recently born infants, cannot accomplish the fruit of liberation on account of ignorance not coming to an end.
Yes. So, stopping the mind in and of itself will not liberate us because it does not deal with our ignorance. Remember, both bondage and liberation occur to the mind, technically the buddhi, the subtlest part of the intellect. The self is ever free. What is the instrument for the direct experience of the self? The self itself. How do you know you are you? You don't see, hear, taste, touch, or smell yourself. You don't emote yourself. You don't think yourself. Yet you know you are. You are Swayambhu, self-evident. But everybody already has that. My problem is my stupid mind. I superimpose upon that direct, eternal, constant experience the qualities of the not self. I'm tall, I'm short, I'm pretty, I'm ugly, I'm old, I'm young, I'm successful, I'm not successful, I'm smart, I'm stupid, etc. Liberation is the deeply rooted insight, the deeply rooted conviction in the subtle intellect that I am Brahman. Based in direct experience. What happens? We learn about the nature of the self. We learn about the not self from the teacher, from the scripture. Then we have an intense practice, paravairagya, extreme detachment from all worldly phenomena and all ideas of self. Then when the mind stops, the intellect returns. It has an aha, pratyabhijnana, recognition. Oh, I thought I was a person and I'm not. And then the mind sees, well, this insight is in the world of name and form. That's not really me. You get those weird things at the end of the scriptures. The guru isn't real, the scripture isn't real, my bondage isn't real, liberation isn't real. Only I. This is not a teaching we give beginners. It will keep them in their suffering. But it's true. You can't think a real thought. Even the thought I just gave you. Okay, we'll end here. What verse are we on for next week? Oh, I lied. There is no next week. Next week is Thanksgiving. So we will not have any class next Thursday. Our next class will be in 2 weeks. I sent out an email. Can I ask you to put it out on the WhatsApp, please? Sure. All right. We will end here. Om Purnamata Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamena Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om Tat Sat. So what verse will we be on in 2 weeks?
49b.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. Say it again.
49b. B for Bombay.
49b. Okay.